Record. So partnerships and corporations are entities that you actually set up and structure. It's not you as a business owner. So as a sole proprietor, you could physically go do business on your own. Say, I, Christian Washington, the business, get a DBA. You pick up, a little couple of bucks for a DBA, a couple $100 for the DBA, and you can do business in their name. And that DBA is only applicable within like the state you're in. But you could sell anywhere, and it doesn't matter. It's fine, right? It's not a trademark or something of that sort. So it doesn't limit you to only doing business in New York. It's just a DBA for New York, right? So you're doing business as this in New York. So when you have a partnership or corporation, you're setting up an entity it's going to have its own tax ID, its own social security number. It's called a tax ID. You do business through the entity, right? So if I set up a partnership, it could be, let's say, me and three other guys, and let's say we're going to buy real estate, and or we're doctors or we're dentists, and we're forming a partnership, and it's or those attorneys, you see those law firms, you know, um, John Smith and Wayne LLP, and they're lawyers, and they come together and they start a partnership, and the partnership is its own entity. And that's, as it says, you have more than one owner coming together to do business. Instead of being three individual sole proprietors, it's like they're coming together to become one business. But a partnership has its own tax ID, its own entity. The reason why you would use a partnership versus a sole proprietor versus a corporation, a lot of it depends on taxes, what type of tax ramifications it's going to have. So it's really a conversation with your CPA or tax accountant. What's better for my business? The nature of the business is important, and then how that affects you. So corporation is sort of the standard corporation, C Corp or S Corp. C Corp is like, a large major business like Chase Bank is a C Corp. A lot of major companies you see on the stock exchange, those are all C Corps, right? Individual independent corporations that kind of stand on their own, pay their own taxes, and it could be owned by you, or it could be owned by thousands or millions of other people across the country or internationally. And that's a C Corp. And an S Corp S Corps have the same type of similar protections as a C Corp, except the income of the entity flows through to you, the individual. So it's usually called a pass-through. So that has to do more like a taxable thing. If you're one guy running a business, but you want the protection of a corporation, you probably do an S Corp, right? Or maybe it's you and another guy. If you're looking to grow, scale big, do a big business, have outside investors, things of that sort, you want to do a corporation. C Corp could be also an LLC, limited liability corporation, up to 200 different members with different share classes that can behave and act and function in different capacities. It's rather technical, but I think the most important thing is, are you starting a sole proprietor? Are you doing a partnership? Partnerships are good where it's like maybe working professionals, doctors, lawyers, dentists, they're coming together to form a practice together. That's usually where you'll see a partnership. Corporations could be anything and everything. Usually you're starting a business either as a sole proprietor to get your feet wet, and then you maybe incorporate later as a corporation in the future. And you set up a corporation. A CPA can help. Usually they help with that process for a nominal fee, a small fee. And that's pretty much the three basics of it. The corporations provide more legal protection. So if you are a sole proprietor and someone sues you, you're liable, personally liable. If someone sues you and it's a corporation, they're really suing the corporation, not suing you, right? Because you're an employee of the corporation. You're an owner of the corporation, but the corporation is who they're doing business with, right? They're doing business with, I do business in Brooklyn. I sell stuff in Brooklyn LLC, or I sell stuff in Brooklyn Inc. And that's who they're doing business with. They're doing business with the corporation itself. not with you. You own the corporation or you have shares in the corporation, but they're doing business with the corporation versus a sole proprietorship. They're doing business with you, the individual. So the liability is on the individual if it's a sole proprietorship versus on the corporation. So they can't come after your personal assets if it's a corporation. They can come after your personal assets if it's a sole proprietorship. If there's something you've done, that's where they could sue you potentially. So legally, you have more protections on a corporation. How do you register a corporation? It's paperwork, legal paperwork you do. You could do this thing is called LegalZoom. You could just use LegalZoom. It'll set you up with a corporation. A lot of CPAs and accountants sometimes provide that service as well. They'll provide the service set up for you. LegalZoom's probably the easiest way to set up your own corporation. They you go online, you fill out some stuff, they process everything for you. That's how you do that. You have to pay, you have to do your quarterly taxes, you have to file like a biannual statement. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be like upkeeped. You don't have to do that upkeep. You don't need to do that upkeep with a sole proprietor. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that is essentially the entire gist of what I just went over in those three areas is the kind of the entire gist, right? General partnerships, limited partnerships, general partner, limited liability, which I went over. Massive limited partnerships and limited liability partnerships are more technical. You could memorize the definition, but from a realistic standpoint, it's more applicable to certain types of industries. You'll see master limited partnerships, particularly with like oil rigging, oil drilling, and they want to solicit investors to invest in a new drilling site. It'll be set up as a master limited partnership for specific tax purposes, flow through purposes, protective purposes, and also for the investors. So you'll see certain industries, specific type of entities lend or work better in specific type of industries. That's why I say consultant, accountant, a CPA, based upon your business, and they'll be able to go over more specifically what's best for you, assuming that accountant specializes in the industry you're working in or understands the industry you're working in. Let's see. So that I went over corporation types, C corporation, different natures of corporations, foreign, closed, open. A lot of it has to do primarily with how you raise money, right? Can the corporation, is it an outside corporation, a foreign corporation? Closed corporations has to do with how it raises stock, how it doesn't raise stock, how it can sell stock to the general public. Corporations predominantly, you have like the intention of being able to raise capital and sell your stock for capital. So you could potentially go public. It's called an IPO, and sell stock, raise money for your company by selling stock. And you can see the advantages and disadvantages, which we went over. So corporation, you'll see here the owners and stockholders own the company. And then you have the board of directors. These are the people who are sort of running, sort of like managing who is going to be the officers that run the business, right? So the board directors they kind of direct the business. They're not running the day-to-day operations of the business. They're directing who the chief executive officers are, the chief financial officers. They're kind of managing the decision making for the business. Then you have the actual officers, the CEO, the CFO, the COO, CTO, chief financial officer, chief technology officer, chief operating officer, chief executive officer. They're actually running the business. They're doing the high level managing of the business, day-to-day stuff of the business on the higher level. Then you have the managers, the middle level managers, the lower level managers, and the employees that work beneath them. And that's sort of like the very general, basic level of how most corporations are set up. You don't have to set yourself up this way. You don't need to be this way. It's not a requirement. You've got some companies, they're very fluid. Maybe they're atypical. and they don't want to run their business this way. But there's an owner and there's a stockholder, right? You can't get around who are the owners and who are the stockholders. That's what it is. But you know who what the job position are is arbitrary to your business. You don't have to have a CEO. You know, maybe the business just has a director, right? And that's it. And then, you know, some 4 employees. So there's no right and wrong. It's just a typical structure of how business entities are set up. But it's up to you. You know, it's whatever. You could be CEO, director, employee, manager. You're just one guy, one gal running the business. I had a business owner tell me one time he never told his customers he was the owner. He's a much older gentleman. He was worried about racism. He said people wouldn't do business with me because I'm black. So he would tell people he was the manager, not the owner, uh, because he was worried about racism. So he told people, I'm the manager. I'm the district manager. I handle New York, or I handle Brooklyn. And that's how he did business. And he was doing pretty well for himself, maybe $250,000 a year. This is many years ago, right? This is like maybe he's in his 70s now. It could be 80. I don't know. Uh, yeah, he could be. I don't know, but it's a long time ago. He's doing very well for himself. That's a lot more money back then than it is now. But that's what he did. So it's kind of arbitrary. I know people get caught up on corporate structure, and you know, usually you have upper level management, middle level management, lower level management, and then you have your employees. And then the levels of management are determined by scale or size of the locale of your territory. So, for example, you might have a district manager that manages uh, New York State, right? And that might be like a middle level manager, mid level manager managing New York State territory. Then the New York State guy has people that answer beneath him, and they may be territory like New York City, Westchester, Long Island, Queens, Bronx, Brooklyn, uh, wherever, different territories in New York State, and those would be underneath the district manager, and they may be, let's say, lower middle level managers, or lower middle level managers. Then those territories. So in Brooklyn, there's tons of places in Brooklyn, right? There could be like 30 stores in Brooklyn, 10, 15 stores in Brooklyn. So then under the district manager, then under the like the territories of New York district manager, then you have the actual like location. So if you did Brooklyn, you might have like uh Carroll Gardens, Park Slope, wherever. If you're in Queens, you'd have, Corona, you'd have Flushing, you'd have Long Island City, and that's where the actual locations are. And that's lower level management because they're actually feet and hands on in the space managing the employees at the store level, right? So that's lower level management, and then the people that are managing them is maybe like lower middle level management. Then the regional managers are middle level management. And when you go above the regions, so now someone's the Northeast, you're managing New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, Massachusetts. You're, Northeast South, then Northeast North, where you're managing, Maine, so on and so forth. Now you're managing multiple states. So now you're more like upper middle level management. And then upper level management is they're managing, they're just a very small suite of employees, like a handful of employees that are managing everything from the top down. That's usually the executive suite is called, or the C suite, CEO, chief. C stands for chief executive officer, chief technology officer, so on and so forth. So that's the very basic corporate structure. It's always divided by territory. It's different based upon your territories. Sometimes you don't see that much stratification. There's less stratification. Depends on the size and scale. That's how that works. So, and these are the different corporations I went over with you already, C Corp, LLC, so on and so forth. So what I would say, guys, is if you're interested in starting your own business, you can register a sole proprietor. You can go on LegalZoom, get yourself set up with an S Corp, either a sole proprietor or an S corp. You do on LegalZoom with an S corp, or you could just register the county clerk with a sole proprietor, and you could start buying things wholesale. And you can start, doing your hustle. So I'm going to end the classroom here. I thank you everyone for your patience, and I will see you again next week, Thursday, 1 p.m. same time. I'll try to make sure I'll try to get everything set up earlier so we don't have any technical issues before. So take care, everybody.